Hello, everyone. My name is A Szasz. I am an environmental sociologist and a professor at UCSC, the University of California at Santa Cruz. For the past several months, I have been developing an internet-based teaching tool that hopefully will help professors and instructors add more climate change content to their Introduction to Sociology courses. Let me start by saying a couple of words about my motivation for undertaking this project. First of all, enrollment data shows that each year, around 800,000 undergraduates take an Intro to Sociology course somewhere in the United States. That makes such courses an ideal site for adding more climate content to college curricula. The second reason for doing this is that I did a content analysis of the 10 best-selling Intro to Sociology textbooks. And it's clear from that content analysis that climate change barely appears in these books. It typically shows up in the next to last chapter, and it gets a couple of paragraphs devoted to it. The whole point of an Intro to Sociology course is that it shows undergraduates that sociological ideas matter, that they will help improve their understanding of their world. Climate change is clearly going to be a factor in their lives, and an Intro to Sociology course ought to be showing them how sociological analyses can help them better understand this challenge that they're going to be dealing with for the rest of their lives. The books suggest that instructors in such courses are not doing this, and they should. It's not an easy task, so I thought I would make it a little bit easier by offering a teaching tool that'll help them add more climate change content to their courses. In this video, I would like to show you some of the main features of this teaching tool. I should say at this point that the internet site is not complete. It is published, and some of its features are available for viewing. So I hope you take a look at it and that we can have some conversation about it so I can continue to improve it as I work to finish the project. Thank you. Here is a snapshot of the website's welcome page and the internet address where one can find it. The website offers instructors three options, three different lesson plans. The minimalist plan requires only one class session. Students view and discuss the video, A Sociology of Climate Change. The middle option adds a research project. Students write a short research paper, or they record a YouTube-style video about what they've learned. The middle option adds a second session during which students can discuss their findings. The third option adds classroom time for students to present their findings more formally, either as a short talk, if they were asked to write a paper, or as a showing of their video. All three lesson plan options start the same way, asking students before the first class to look at three videos: an introductory video made by me and two science videos. Here, I'm going to splice in my introductory video. You can also pause this video and follow the URLs to look at the two science videos that I'm asking students to take a look at before the first actual lesson. Hello, my name is A Szasz. I'm an environmental sociologist and a professor at the University of California at Santa Cruz. In this video, I want to introduce you to my new website. a climate change module for Introduction to Sociology classes. I created this website for two reasons. The first reason is that after years of research and observation by hundreds, if not thousands of scientists, there's no longer any doubt that one, climate change is real. Two, that it is caused by human activity, mostly by the burning of fossil fuels. Three, that climate change is not caused by such things as variations in solar radiation or variations in the Earth's orbit or other non-human natural conditions. And four, that it's serious. Actually, way more than serious. If one reads and understands the science, it's immediately clear that climate change has become the greatest threat to our future. As a civilization, perhaps as a species. The second reason I created this website is because I took a careful look at the 10 best-selling Introduction to Sociology textbooks in the United States, and I saw that climate change is very poorly covered in any of them. It is found late in the books, typically in the next to last chapter, and it gets only a handful of paragraphs devoted to it. I think that's a problem. The main point of an Introduction to Sociology course is to show college students that sociological ideas matter, that those ideas help them better understand their world. At this point in human history, nothing is more important than a worldwide environmental crisis that threatens to take from us the kinds of lives, secure, prosperous, productive, happy, that we all hope to have for ourselves and for our children. I believe then that it's time to add more sociology of climate change to our Intro to Sociology classes. This website is designed to help do that. But before we get to the sociology, I believe that we all need to make sure that we have a shared, solid background in the science of climate change. Before the first class session then, I'm recommending that you watch two videos. A video on the physics of climate change, and a second on climate change impacts on the Earth's ecological systems. I've been extremely fortunate to be able to recruit two colleagues, both experts in their respective fields, to record these videos for us. The first video is titled "The Physical Dimensions of Climate Change." You can find it at the internet address you see at the bottom of this slide. This video was recorded for us by Dr. Jeffrey Keel, a physicist and climate scientist. Until recently, Dr. Keel was senior scientist for the Climate Change Research Section of NCAR, the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. Our second science video is titled "Our Climate is Changing." It is about ecological impacts. You can find this video at the internet address you see at the bottom of this slide. This video was recorded for us by Dr. Michael Loic, a distinguished ecologist, professor of environmental studies at the University of California at Santa Cruz. Once you have seen both of these videos, we can shift our attention from science to sociology, to asking how people will be affected by climate change and how society is responding to this threat. For this, I've recorded a third video, A Sociology of Climate Change. I recommend that your class watch this video in class, in your first class on this topic. If your professor chooses one of the longer lesson plans, she or he will ask you to do some research on some aspect of the sociology of climate change. The website has a set of tools that can help. On this page of the website, the page titled "For Students," you will find links that take you deeper into any of the 25 different facets of the sociology of climate change. In a later video, which you should look at if your professor does ask you to do research, I will describe the research tool in greater detail. For now, though, you should start by finding and viewing the two science videos. Here and here. That's it for now. Until my next video, thank you. In all three lesson plans, students will have seen this introductory video and will have seen the two science videos before the first class session. In that first session, then, they will watch this video, A Sociology of Climate Change. The video tells students that a full sociology of climate change actually consists of three different kinds of inquiries. First, an inquiry into the social causes or social drivers of climate change. Second, an inquiry into the variety of impacts that climate change has had and will continue to have on human societies. And third, an inquiry into the variety of responses that we have seen so far in response to this threat. The video goes on to say that each of those inquiries can be subdivided into a series of smaller inquiries, as shown on this slide. The video goes through this list, describing one or two essential features for each item. At this point, the video is still being revised, but I can show you a short selection from it. The two selections I will show from the current rough version of the video, chosen kind of at random, are item number 6, extreme weather events, and item number 9, climate impacts on politics. Our next set of impacts are caused by more frequent and more intense extreme weather events. Record heat, drought, wildfire, stronger storms with torrential rain and flooding, stronger hurricanes. Let's consider just a couple of the examples. In recent years, we have been seeing more record-setting heat waves. Wildfires, driven by a combination of drought and heat, are larger, more intense, and more devastating. Here's what a wildfire burning in Los Angeles in 2018 looked like. This, too, is Los Angeles in 2018. And this is, or was, the town of Paradise in Northern California the same year. The whole town burned to the ground. More drought, more intense heat waves. Those are already the fingerprints of a warming climate. That has been the situation in the past couple of years. Climate change is predicted to continue to raise global surface temperatures well past where they are today. Picking just one more example of climate-driven extreme events, climate change has been linked to more powerful hurricanes. This was the Jersey Shore after Hurricane Sandy hit the New York City region in 2012. Sandy was the second most expensive storm in U.S. history, $65 billion. And this was the city of Houston after Hurricane Harvey struck in 2017. Harvey did $125 billion of damage, mostly due to extensive flooding. In other words, in dollar terms, the damage was double what it was just 5 years earlier. Extreme weather events destroy communities, destroy people's lives. They disrupt the affected area's economic life. Afterwards, it is immensely costly to recover, to rebuild. I turn next to considering possible political impacts, ways that climate change can undermine the stability or the viability of a society's political order. The impacts we discussed earlier can all trigger political trouble. Imagine, for example, a poor society that is already coping with overpopulation and chronic poverty, and now is starting to experience new misfortunes: failing supplies of food and water, trouble recovering from weather disasters, illnesses spreading. That would be a society prone to civil discontent, to protest, to violence, threatening the viability of the existing political order. Let's here focus on just one type of political impact, that caused by increased migration. Parts of the world are already experiencing the strain of mass migration. We are seeing large flows of migrants from Syria and other Middle Eastern countries into Europe, from South and Central America north through Mexico to the United States. Recent migration has been driven mostly by the breakdown of everyday life in the nations people are trying to leave. War, corruption, gang violence, fear for one's life, as well as other drivers of migration, such as the lack of economic opportunity. Climate change is predicted to trigger even larger migrations in the range of tens, possibly hundreds of millions. Just to take one recent example, the Syrian civil war triggered a wave of migration to Europe, giving us heartbreaking images such as this, and this, and this. Migration certainly hurts the nation being left behind, depleting it of professionals, skilled workers, young families. Migration can also cause political trouble in the places migrants hope to settle. When the Syrian civil war drove thousands of migrants north into Europe, Hungary's governing party put up a fence on its border and manned it with armed guards, while back in Budapest it exploited the situation, using racist, nationalist, xenophobic rhetoric to further consolidate power and undermine that nation's democratic institutions. As this graphic shows, throughout Europe, immigration fostered the rise of right-wing, ultranationalist, xenophobic political parties. These parties not only have increasing support in the voting booth, they also have support in the streets, here in France, here in Germany. Here, a vigilante ship patrols the Mediterranean. Members of anti-immigrant parties, men who come out for street rallies, increasingly look like and sound like fascists. In sum, then, by triggering mass migration and in other ways, climate change can have powerful impacts on a nation's political system. If the instructor chooses either the middle option or the full option, she or he will be asking students to do some research and to report their findings. The website has tools that will help students do that kind of research. The video I'm going to be showing you next introduces students to that facet of the website. Hey everyone. I assume that you're watching this video because your professor has assigned you to do research on some aspect of the sociology of climate change. The module website has tools that can help. For each of the 25 topics, it offers suggestions about what kinds of questions to ask and where to look for answers. We can pick any one of the 25 topics and use it as an example. Let's say you decide to study the impacts on food. Here's how you would navigate the website for help with that topic. Starting on the website's welcome page, click on For Students. On that page, scroll down to the topic you want help with. In the example we're using, that would be number 4, food. Click on that and, when prompted, click OK and download and open the PDF. Now let's look at the pages of the PDF. The first page takes the issue you're interested in and breaks it down into several smaller questions that you would want to explore. In this example, it suggests asking first how much the food supply is likely to fall. And then it suggests some follow-up questions. What are likely to be the so-called downstream effects on people's health, on the economy, on a country's political situation, and so on? The rest of the document recommends a strategy for finding answers to those questions. It suggests starting with the best, most recent scientific and governmental reports listed on this page. Then, second, it recommends looking for good academic articles on Google Scholar, and it gives you a list of search terms you can use. It then recommends doing a more general internet search with those same search terms, and finally recommends that you search for the most recent information in print media and on climate websites. The fourth and final page of the PDF has links to some recent articles that I found particularly useful. A bit of extra help to get you started. Okay, that's it. The format I've just described is pretty much the same for all the 25 topics. A description of the issue, questions to ask, and a list of resources where you will find answers. I hope that helps. Good luck with your research. To finish the module, I suggest that the class have a general discussion relating what they have just learned to the rest of their course. If the instructor or the class feels they could use some help organizing such a discussion, they can take a look at 2 short videos that I have created and posted on YouTube, videos that will suggest a format for having such a discussion. Well, that's it. I hope that we can have a great conversation about this teaching tool, and based on that conversation, I will continue to improve the product before I start publicizing it. Thanks for your help.